Joining me now to share their very inspiring personal story is the Verhulst family. Welcome to 100 Huntley Street, Adriaan, Kyle, and Dianna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
We're so thankful you're joining us today. Now, Adriaan, take us back to the early years of your marriage to Dianna. Before Kyle's birth, before your family, you had lots of kids. You had one child, and you made this decision to follow Jesus.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about what happened.
Well, it was actually through a friend that I had gone to school with. I came back. We moved to Windsor, back to Windsor, and he was working for an architect office. I ended up working there as well, and his name was Rodney Richardson. And he, I noticed that oftentimes he would be reading his Bible during the breaks and then praying. You know, he'd get a headache and he would pray about that, and then God would heal him. And I think, wow, he's using God kind of thing, you know. But because we talked and chatted, he asked me to go to church with him. And this was in Detroit. It's called Bethesda Missionary Temple at that time. And he asked me if I wanted to go with him. So I did. And sure enough, I went into this place. It was huge. I had never seen people praising the Lord. People were just enthralled and said, is this genuine? Can these people actually love the Lord that much? And it had an effect on me. It didn't take long for me, maybe about 4 sermons. And Ma Beale called us to the front, and I went. And so that was when I was 26 years old, actually, in November. I gave my heart to the Lord and went on from there.
Well, that's amazing, Adriaan. It's such a beautiful story. And it started to ripple throughout your family. Dianna, Adriaan was very different after he gave his heart to the Lord. And at first, you resisted following suit, but eventually you came to follow Jesus. Tell us a bit about your journey.
Well, it was probably, it was a difficult year because that hadn't been part of our story up until then. I think both of us as kids had gone to church. I didn't grow up in a family that honored God or even really spoke much about God. Oddly enough, one of my older sisters and I, as little girls, would go to a church in our neighborhood. But as far as our parents, I mean, we grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home. And so it was nowhere on my radar, that kind of thing. And Adriaan, he just did an about face, which we're supposed to do when we come to the Lord. But he was so different. I didn't really know how to deal with all of that. And so it probably took about a year until I finally one day decided that I would go to church with him. Because that whole year, it had been a really difficult marriage for us. I was resentful. I was petty. I picked apart everything about the church he was going to. So it was a difficult year. Yeah. I think it's just the Lord that, softens your heart and brings you to where he wants you to be. And he did that. Thank goodness.
Yeah, he certainly did. And you went on to have 4 kids together. Kyle, you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, one sister.
And you are the 3rd oldest child in the family. You gave your heart to Jesus when you were quite young. What does it mean to you to follow Jesus?
Well, I know my brother Aaron. He's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's and Aaron, Ryan, and Katie, and me. I was born 82 to Windsor.
Did you tell Laura about when you got baptized?
And I got baptized for Jesus. A lot of time ago, I was in church until London. And I said to him for Jesus, you are good in your heart for you, your families, your people, all the people you love it. And the God, he's a father. I know that God. I know that movie. I love that movie for Jesus. Your love in your heart for kids, all the people that like it.
Yeah. What do you love most about Jesus?
And Jesus is good for me when I work.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Throughout family life, there's always challenges, and we can have all different kinds of challenges. We're always guaranteed there will be a challenge in life. And as you guys Adriaan, as you guys started to have more kids and then, recognized that there would be challenges with exceptionalities and with Kyle having Down syndrome, there would be some challenges there to help him thrive and reach his full God-given potential. Adriaan, what were those early years like for you as you came to understand that you would have some of those challenges and that God would meet you in them?
Yeah. I really did trust in the Lord. That when he was first born, one of the things we did was right away we committed him to the Lord. So that was huge for me because I was still early in my faith, but from that point on, there was a trust, and I recognized that I needed to be a strength for Di, and so that, without being, just being there, doing what I had to do. I remember we used to have to feed him with a tube through his nose, and all of that early on because he wouldn't breastfeed right away and those kind of things. And so that faith, and God just rewarded that. He just gave me. There was no mourning that I went through. I don't remember that at all. That's not part of. I just needed to be. I needed to be strong, and that. But he was a blessing. He just was. He was the third child, and we just had a different type of challenge in terms of his growth. But I do have to admit that without the vision, I think that Di had for him, which was different than mine, that he wouldn't have accomplished the things that he's accomplished now.
Well, you talk about, Kyle, your ability to ride bikes. Well, Kyle leads, has led a group to raise money for MS. And you are the bike captain of that group. How many kilometers every time you have undertaken this race? How many kilometers do you ride?
To me, I do my bike myself all the way to the top of the hill.
No, but where do you start, Kai?
And I start on
Grand Bend?
Grand Bend first,
Okay.
all the way to London.
Grand Bend to London.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I did 150 kilometers.
150 kilometers.
Yeah, to London.
Yeah.
And it's one way and one way back, right?
75 one way and 75 back.
75
back. So we're there and back,
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's about 140 more kilometers than I've ever done.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I can't do it.
No.
No,
Wow.
just me.
Yeah. Well, and Dianna, you talked about, as moms, we're often worried when we have our children for all different reasons. You've got 4 kids, and for each child there are different concerns or worries from birth or as they get older. How has God met you in those very worrisome times? And I know he's met you in some unique ways, even in the hospital room.
Right.
When Kyle was born.
When he was born, I always compare, like Adriaan just picked him up and said, well, I think he's beautiful. And that was it for him. That was all the morning he did. For me, it was because I look down the future. I'm always thinking about where they're going to go to school and what they're going to be and who they're going to marry. Like, I lived down the road 20 years easily. And so when he was born, it was, we hadn't grown up. Remember, he's 41. So we grew up in a time when there wasn't a lot of integration. There wasn't a lot of, a lot of Down syndrome babies didn't even live past birth, So we weren't accustomed to having any sort of Down syndrome in our life. We didn't know Down syndrome people. We didn't know people who had Down syndrome children. So it was all so new. And for me, it was such a fearful time. And then in the midst of it, the Lord would give me a song. One was Isaiah 60. Arise, shine, for the light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. Except it wasn't just a song after a while. It was like a prophecy over him. And I had him I didn't put him in the nursery because I thought he wasn't a very pretty baby, and I thought they were all laughing at him. That's why he was in the back row. So I made him stay in my room long before rooming in was the thing. And long before I even knew about skin to skin, I would hold him skin to skin and just pray that over him and prophesy over him that the glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. It was so profound to me. The other thing that he gave me was a song about, oh, how he loves you and me. Except it wasn't just, oh, how he loves you and me. It was, oh, it was such a guttural thing. It just came from my innermost being.
Yeah.
And the last one was a song from John, my peace I give unto you. It's a peace that the world cannot give, and it's a peace that the world doesn't understand. And it would be like the atmosphere would just change for me. The more I sang, the more I could feel this atmosphere just changing. You know, I think about just him as a child of God. I shared early, you know, I think with your assistant, that the day that this just really spoke to my heart about how much God loves him. I was going up the stairs and he was in his room, and I was carrying some laundry and he was talking to himself. And I went up to his room and I said to him, Kyle, who are you talking to? He said, Jesus. Just like that.
Yes.
I'm talking to Jesus. And that just spoke to me that how he hears, he talks, he listens to Jesus all the time. I mean, probably 3 or 4 hours a day in our home at that time. He'd have his hands in the air playing Bill Gaither tapes and praising God. And it was, you talk about what we have given to him or how we've shaped his life. He has certainly shaped our life with his ability to communicate with the Lord.
Yes. Oh, he certainly has. And, you know, when I think about your family, I think about Adriaan saying a big yes to Jesus. And you saying a big yes to saying, I'm going to be the best mom I can be. And Kyle, you saying a big yes to life.
I think,
You know, you volunteer in all these different places I mentioned, but you're also a musician and you play the drums. For a very special group. Tell me a bit about your drumming at Momentum.
My concert, and I love doing that. Like all the people that came, you can take your brother, your sisters, your uncles, or your aunt. And I think the people come, get a ticket, sit down, and I love the concert. I love the song. And for me, I'm a player. And I love doing it to myself, to my God, and Jesus.
Yes.
And that's my idea. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, we are so thankful that you've all joined us today, and we're thankful for this special glimpse into your family and your deep faith in Jesus and your deep walk with God. Thank you all for being with us today.
Oh,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for allowing us to be here.
It's a pleasure.